Yo, 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 what's cooking, y'all? It's DB Velcro, and at it with another video. I want to say first of all, thank you so much for the response that I got from my first video. I definitely did not expect that to be the case, and it was awesome. I got a lot of good feedback on it, a lot of things I could improve on. But I appreciate you guys coming out and just watching that. So it makes me feel good. Makes me feel good. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and drop into our top 5 Netflix shows you should be binging during your quarantine time. Now, a lot of people have a different top 5 than I do, which is respectable, right? There's a lot of good shows on Netflix, and I think the fact that some of those shows aren't going to be listed on my top 5, I'm definitely not disrespecting those shows whatsoever. I just solely haven't watched them. So if I were to give you my top 5 and you don't agree with it, that's respectable in my opinion, because I think almost every there's it's almost hard to find someone who's got the same top 5 shows that they like on Netflix, regardless of order. Like, I guarantee you, if I were to name you 5 shows, you wouldn't name me the same exact 5 shows that you like. So, without further ado, let's stop the filler talk and let's go straight into it. So, number 5. Oh, and also a warning, real quick. I 2 of these shows I have not watched, but I've gone ahead and gotten some responses just so I can fill you guys in on enough detail. But number 5, of course, we're going to start off with the show that I haven't watched. So, number 5, Stranger Things. Now, a lot of people have told me this is a great show. As I mentioned before, I have not watched it, unfortunately. But I've heard it's good from a lot of people. My mom loved it, and my mom's a huge action adventure and a thriller type of um, person where she just loves to sit down and always, always feel the rush of, hey, something sudden's gonna happen in this show. And from what I've gathered, from what a lot of people have told me, Stranger Things is that show. Um, but yeah, I think this would be a great show if you're into that thriller kind of thing. And I assume if you're into that stuff, you'd already watch Stranger Things. But in case you aren't that kind of person, I would suggest, hey man, why not try something new? So let's go on to number 4. This one I have watched, and this one is such a great show, and I am honestly shocked that not a lot of people have watched it. But at number 4, we're gonna go ahead and go to Parks and Rec, and this is a beautiful written show. I mean, this is if you're looking for something that's similar to The Office, right? Because the writer that wrote The Office is also the writer of Parks and Rec, and if you're looking for similarities in both The Office and Parks and Rec. There's some with some of the characters, but I think the element is completely different. I think Parks and Rec has its own unique style, its own unique sense of comedy and humor. And for you guys, if you want to know the length, it is 7 shows. And one of my best favorite parts about it's kind of weird, but one of my favorite parts about it is that there's so many moments in this show where I've cringed, and because the characters are doing something stupid, and it adds on to character development because it shows you how these characters have a repertoire of doing these stupid things on and on again, and it's funny in some sense based on how they embarrass themselves, but it's heartwarming to know that the writers take these goofy characters and some of them normal, who see themselves as elite because they are normal, and bunch them together and make them, one big family. So I think it's a great show. It's not for everyone though. I have heard a lot of people don't like this. Um, so if it's not for you, I understand. And this is one of these shows again where you've got to kind of burn through those first couple of episodes. And if you're not into that, if you don't like burning, I would suggest skipping. If not, I guess this is not your show, but it's a great show, and I would definitely recommend watching this one. So number 3 on the list. This one, a lot of people are going to get pissed because I haven't watched this one, but number 3 we have Grey's Anatomy, and a lot of the people who watch Grey's like no tomorrow are probably at my doorstep right now with an AK outside, and honestly, I'm sorry, I have not watched this show. Um, but I've heard from people it's a hospital drama. I think And now you're probably asking, I don't have that much information on Grey's. Why do I put it in my top three? Um, well, just to clarify, a lot of the not a lot, sorry, but Stranger Things and Grey's I kind of put in there because I felt like I needed some feedback from other people as well. I don't know if I mentioned this previously, but I ended up asking people on my private story, what are some shows that you like? And I didn't think it was fair enough to not put these on my top three solely because, or top five solely because I haven't watched them. I think these are great shows, and I think they deserve a spot on my top five. So I want to go with Grey's Anatomy at three. Might be better than Parks and Rec, might be worse. I really don't know. Um, but it is a ton of seasons. So the fact that we are in quarantine for such a long time is amazing because now you have so many seasons to just keep hitting next episode on next episode and just burning through those episodes. My only concern though, and I don't, I might be wrong. So Grace fans, you can go ahead and correct me on this, but don't correct me based off bias. Correct me based on, hey, like I've watched everyone with detail. But I would assume that because there's an overload amount of episodes and seasons, I would assume that there are some dry episodes. And if you're not someone that's into dry episodes, obviously no one's into dry episodes, but sometimes we are blinded by our own ambition to just finish the show because we love the show so much. And sometimes we can't differentiate what a dry show is and what a show full of so much character development and plot changing is. So that would be my concern because I think there's so many seasons and episodes that there might be some dry seasons and episodes. But you know what? I haven't watched it, so therefore, who am I to criticize a show with such high praise? And now going to number two, and this is always my number one show, but I'm putting this on number two for a specific reason. And I don't think that this number two show can beat my number one show. And number two, we have The Office. Now, a lot of people have this one at number one. A lot of people have this one, maybe number two, maybe even more back in their top five. And a lot of people, well, sorry, not a lot of people, a decent amount of people don't even like this show to begin with. And I can understand. Maybe they don't really like the characters. Maybe they don't like what's going on. It's just somewhat boring for them. And I think The Office is to blame for that because the first season is really dry. I hate to break it to I think no actually I hate to break it to people who haven't watched it, but it's just super dry. I understand where they're going with the first season is that they kind of wanted to give you a little bit of character explanation, and obviously a lot of these things help down the road because you try to connect the dots between romance and what's going on with the plot in season two. So I get it. It's kind of a setup for season two. Um, but yeah, this is a beautiful story. It's very heartwarming. Um, and to be honest with you, I did cry at the end because it was just, wow. I mean, what an ending. These were one of these shows that a lot of people wanted a 10th season. I forgot to mention there are 9 seasons to this, but a lot of people wanted 10 seasons to this. And I understand why, but also people wanted them, even the actors themselves are saying, hey, you know what? 9 seasons was good enough at the time we had it because the humor in this show specifically is different from humor in today's world. A lot of what's funny in this show would be criticized today, and I understand where the actors are coming from on that. And I think to even go ahead and add a 10th season and try to pull off a Game of Thrones where you end up messing the whole structure of how well your plot's working with you, I can understand why they left it alone and left it at that. And I think they did a wonderful job of that. And now, going to my number one slot, All American. What a show. I cannot believe how much effort and how much thought was put into this show. I am genuinely so happy that I watched this. And a big reason is because a lot of this is, if you're someone that's looking at this, I can understand why you haven't watched this. If you are someone who has not watched All American at all, one, you're watching another show. Two, you're intimidated by the fact that hey, it's a football, um, it's a show about football. I shouldn't watch it. Or three, you're just lazy, right? This show is so much more than football. It talks about how football is important, how it applies to real life. It talks about depression, mental health, and addiction, and it talks about the structure of the family and gang violence. And I think when you throw all that together, it's so much. But once you understand how beautiful it is, it's such a well written show, and I really recommend it to anyone. It's 2 seasons, and you're always on the edge of your seat. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and comment down below, but I'll see you later.
Pulling out the coupe at the lot, 12 fuck SWAT, busting all the bells out the box. I just hit a lick with the box, had to put the stick in the box. Pour up the whole damn bill, I'ma get laid.